Story 1. When I or they make a lighthearted joke and it is followed up by another, in Ireland we call it the crack, and it is universal. If a person is willing to make a joke or be silly in the moment, I think that is a great sign they are relaxed. Story 2. If someone interrupts you, they make a point of turning the conversation back to you and asking what you wanted to say. Story 3. Kindness towards animals. Ability to carry on an intelligent conversation. Kindness towards others without being judgmental. Story 4. When they talk fondly about their pet, especially if they have a cat, rodent, or reptile, it often requires more gentleness and understanding. I have never met a guinea pig owner who was unpleasant. Story 5. They are trying to make the world a better place. They care to some extent about what others think. They are at least somewhat deep and not superficial. And probably the biggest thing, they are sincere. Someone could almost totally be opposite to me in almost every belief they have, but if they are 100% sincere, I can still like them. Story 6. When they can embrace finding out they are wrong or misinformed about something, they are more likely to be excited about new information than to be upset they were wrong or take it as a personal attack. Story 7. Doing something. School, news, sports, cardboard, video games, movies, music, like the whole shebang. Story 8. When you tell them you are struggling or having a bad day and they first ask, "What do you need? How can I help you?" without acting like they already know. Story 9. If they engage with your ideas, someone with the same sense of humor and playfulness always makes me happy. Story 10. They do not make you jump through hoops or anything like that for them to want to make you feel welcome. They are sincere when they do, not in a generic way. They do not make you feel secondary because you are not like them. They do not humor you until they get bored. They actually listen and genuinely want to get to know you. Story 11. When someone actually engages in interesting conversations and has disagreements with you that only lead to enjoyable discussions instead of defensiveness, they are definitely cool. This applies to people in general, not just romantic relationships. My girlfriend is the only positive indicator I need. She is my lively source of differing opinions. Story 12. They criticize both sides of the coin, looking for facts and not confirmation. They do not get angry or heated over this type of discussion. You can really have a good conversation with these types of individuals. Story 13. They include you in group conversations. Notice you haven't spoken in a while. They say your name and ask for your opinion or whatever. Including everyone is one of my go-to strategies. Story 14. If they have zero interest in gossiping, a friend of mine always changes the subject when people start talking badly about others behind their backs. That is the kind of energy I want in my life. Story 15. They are okay with getting things wrong and learning something new. Their identity doesn't get threatened or destroyed by disagreement. Story 16. When I told my girlfriend I had lost some weight, she asked me how I felt about that before reacting in any other way. Blind enthusiasm might have looked like she would really prefer it if I were thinner, and a flat "you are fine the way you are" might have read as dismissive of something I was proud of. She instinctively checked to see how I felt about it, and it was so deeply considerate. I am not even sure she was aware. For the record, I was happy about losing the weight, and she was happy with me and for me. Story 17. They take an interest in your hobbies and likes and try to learn about them from you, as well as participate in them with you, despite not necessarily liking those hobbies themselves. Story 18. I am on the spectrum, so sometimes I am not sure when to enter the conversation. Sometimes people will see that I tried to start talking and stopped, and when the person currently talking ends their sentence, they will turn to me and say, "You were trying to say something. What was it?" I try to do this too when I have the opportunity. Every time someone does it for me, I am grateful. Instant good person points. Story 19. I love animals, but mostly cats. That is a win in my book. I consider myself a kind person, but it goes both ways. People have taken advantage of that before, and it is frustrating. Someone who is genuinely kind is a win in my book. Story 20. Skipping the small talk. Being able to naturally start talking to someone about topics of substance is always what I think about when people talk about connecting with others. It feels vulnerable but mutually so. Story 21. When they have never met you before and say this line to a man in a bar who cannot take no for an answer. The lady already said no. Back off. Story 22. When we are talking about suffering and issues of cruelty, it is concerning when someone is more emphatic instead of wanting to know who the victims are first. Additionally, people who believe that those who suffer from unfortunate circumstances are inherently bad raise significant red flags for me. Story 23. Ability to laugh at oneself. No depreciation or being the doormat and butt of jokes, but genuinely willing to take the mickey. A lot of people are so insecure about being perceived a certain way. People who do not react negatively are individuals who are confident in who they are. Story 24. Love of the Muppets. Also, people who are able to say the most difficult three-word sentences in the English language. I don't know. I was wrong. I am sorry. And you were right. Story 25. When they are not ashamed to express a positive opinion that goes against that of the group. I think it shows they are not ashamed or trying to fit in, or do not really care about differing opinions. It can be something as simple as stating, I actually like colored hair, or I did like that movie, song, etc. Story 26. When they remembered something small or silly I mentioned a long time ago, or actually watch, listen, or read something I have recommended. Story 27. Kindness towards others. I have always admired kind people, especially now when most people are selfish and only care about themselves. I appreciate those who do not gossip about other people. I admire those who own their mistakes. I cannot stand people who put you or others down in order to look or feel good about themselves. I really dislike these types of people. Story 28. When they can make jokes or take jokes made about them. I am personally someone who would rather make a joke at my own expense, and I can laugh at myself. So when I meet someone who can do that too, that is instantly someone I want to engage with. Story 29. When someone is able to listen to you and provide feedback, that quality has become very important to me recently. Story 30. I watch out keenly for the way people treat individuals who can do nothing for them or who do not have anything to offer. If you are kind to the everyday person on the street just for the sake of being kind, no matter your day, you are a good person. Story 31. I can be a bit intense if I am upset. Anyone who calls me out and tells me to calm down is always wonderful. Story 32. Someone who is kind to children and animals. They do not have to want either, just have empathy and sweetness towards purely innocent life. I realized this was important to me when someone I once found attractive acted very coldly to a friendly puppy our colleague brought into the office. I thought, something feels off about this woman. Story 33. They ask autistic people for tips for supporting their autistic relatives if they have one. Coming from an autistic person, this makes me very happy as there is a lot of misinformation spread about autism online, and who better to ask for tips than an autistic person? No offense, but most neurotypical people do not understand a lot about autism unless they have studied it. Story 34. When they remember the small details you mentioned in passing, it proves they actually listen instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. Story 35. Information is a powerful way for me to connect with others. When someone allows me to ask questions or when they talk about their passions, I am absorbed. Story 36. If they have been a caregiver to a dying relative or parent, it takes a great deal of character to be able to handle that properly, and it changes you forever. If you have never done it, you cannot begin to understand. Story 37. When they talk about people who are not present the same way they would if they were. No sugarcoating, no cheap shots, just genuine respect, even when no one is watching. That is not just a green flag, that is a full-blown emerald monument to being a decent human being. Story 38. When they actively listen to me, are not annoyed by my clarifying questions, and are not scared of deeper conversations. Story 39. Being able to talk about controversial topics without losing their cool or becoming dismissive. I spoke to a victim who became convinced that all men had a rapist undercurrent. I spoke to a supporter of Donald Trump who genuinely believes that the potential territorial grabs are what is best for the country. Story 40. When they recognize, appreciate, and remember the kindness I have shown them, they show kindness in return. Story 41. When they have an interesting hobby that you never expected them to have, and they shyly but excitedly tell you about it. Story 42. That they love animals. I think it shows empathy for other living creatures. They do not have to own a dog or cat or any other pet, but they have to like them. Story 43. Their eyes widen and they start smiling when you or someone mentions your favorite band. I have never met a person I didn't like who loves Zagor or Thy Catafalque. Story 44. When they ask a relevant follow-up question after a general question, it shows they have listened to your answer, considered it, and are interested to know more. Story 45. They will ask for help by saying, "Can you help me, please?" Or something somewhat self-deprecating like, "Please help. I'm not sure what to do." It just demonstrates an immediate and rightful tone of vulnerability, and displaying that is a good trait. Story 46. When they remember the small things about me, I think it is the cutest thing when they pay attention to every small thing you say. Story 47. I know I'm shallow, but I really, really like breasts. So if you have them, there is a good chance I like you. Story 48. When he runs early in the morning to the pharmacy to buy your medicine when you are not well. When you know he will always take a stand for you behind your back. When he makes you take a sip from his small glass of orange juice before drinking it. When he makes sure that you are properly fed and won't let you go hungry. When you know you can always cry your heart out in front of him, and he will console you. When you know you can share the silliest of jokes with him. When he remembers your favorite food, favorite movies, and everything. When you share something with him that is bothering you, and he understands. When you know, you just know. That guy is a walking green flag. Story 49. They have well-behaved dogs. I am not a huge dog fan, but if you have dogs and they are reasonably well-trained and well-behaved, I will like you more. Story 50. I could list dozens of things, but the first one that comes to mind is when you see them push their shopping cart back into the cart corral. Story 51. They recognize their mistakes. I have been surrounded by people who think they are always right, including my family and coworkers. This is particularly challenging because I am a doctor and I have dealt with a significant amount of difficult situations. So yes, when someone actually realizes they made a mistake and comes clean about it, it is such a relief. Story 52. When they say good things about other people behind their backs. When they are not judgmental. When they have an open mind. Story 53. Makes an effort to include myself in the conversation. For example, he ends his statements with a question for me or starts a new topic so we can continue the conversation. Story 54. Crazy how most of these, I think, are just basic common kindness and courtesy. These should be a given, not something you need to look for. Story 55. Deep interest in art, especially when it is not just the current mainstream. Music, film, visual, any kind. However, I am finding it to be more of a rarity nowadays. Story 56. The way they treat and talk to strangers. I feel like you can tell a lot about someone just by seeing how they treat someone they may never see again. Story 57. When they listen not to respond but to understand. I think there are so many people just waiting for their chance to talk and not truly taking in what someone is trying to tell them. Story 58. Who doesn't interrupt when I talk and listens and waits for me to complete my sentence? I don't know why, but almost 80% of the men I meet in my life do interrupt while I talk, and this makes me want to punch their face. Story 59. When they remember small details from past conversations, such as if I mention my favorite snack once, and weeks later they randomly bring it up or surprise me with it. This shows they actually listen instead of just waiting for their turn to talk. Story 60. I don't know, it's an intuitive thing. I watch them and evaluate them subconsciously. Very few people pass whatever I'm evaluating, but the ones that do are usually very impressive individuals that I enjoy getting to know and be around. Story 61. It is the litmus test of long-term planning. You won't see anything short-term, and it isn't retirement through work. Takes discipline and willpower. Story 62. This is going to sound kind of weird, but if they can roast me, I love joking around and playfully roasting people who are cool with that sort of humor. So anytime I meet someone who can do that back, but still keep it light and fun, I am immediately into them. Story 63. People ask you a question and then actually listen to your reply, rather than just using it as a way to tell you their opinion on the matter. Story 64. When they have a good career, I am in my mid-30s, so when someone has a good career, I think it shows that they must have their lives together. Story 65. Basic manners include saying hello, thank you, ma'am and sir, holding doors open, asking how you are, making eye contact, and being able to engage in light conversation for 20 seconds with people they have just met. Story 66. If they demonstrate that they truly understand how proper humor is born from causing offense. The stronger the offense, the heartier the laugh. Share that, and I am with you, I am in. Story 67. I have a few points. Not supporting the murder of animals or being vegan. Not being homophobic, racist, misogynistic, or ableist. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.